All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the 13th Dimension, the 13th episode of the season. Yay. Um, Tonight, I got a very special guest, somebody I had actually been wanting to get on this show for some time, just now finally getting around to it. And it's perfect timing because she's got an event coming up here in a couple of weeks. And yes, there is a YouTube link. Just go to Things Network on YouTube and make sure you select the filter for channel, and you'll find it right there. Meanwhile, meanwhile, please welcome Alex Matsuo. I hope I got the last name right.
You did.
Okay, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just ready to get this day over with. It's been a busy busy year.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Um, so I'm just going to jump right into this because I am sure you are going to have a lot of information about this thing. I don't know whether if this thing is considered a convention or a lecture or whatever you consider it, but it's called the Paranormal Research Symposium, and I got to tell you, that's the first instance that I've ever heard of that word because of you.
Mhm. Oh, nice.
And it's always nice to learn new words, especially if you're a writer.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
So, what is the Paranormal Research Symposium?
Yeah. So the Paranormal Research Symposium is a 1 day conference. I like to describe it as like a conference, not necessarily a convention, because we actually do something very different. We don't have vendor tables. It's three different rooms, and there's lectures happening pretty much all day. So people come in. So we actually do an application process. We actually do a very unique application process for an event like this. It's not necessarily unique in the academic world, but at least in the paranormal community. So far, from what my read is, unless it's like the Rhine Society for Psychical Research or ASEP, these more of these academic based parapsychology organizations, this is fairly unique. But we actually we do an application process for speakers where they have to submit something called an abstract for a presentation or workshop or panel. And what an abstract is, it's about a 200 to 300 word description of what their research is, what their area of study is, and what they would like to talk about. And part of like the abstract is you have to have sources, you have to have citations, and you have to write it in a certain way that is very academic based. And then I have a committee from my team and from other special guests from the outside who read the abstracts, and then we grade them. So we do like a rubric of like, is the title interesting? Is this well written? Is this something that people would be interested in, and is it a relevant topic for the field, and that sort of thing. And so we have a whole selection committee reading the abstracts, and then we make our selections from there. So it's very much an academic centric event, and that's what a symposium is. Really, it's a 1 day academic centric event. It's a day of lectures and workshops, and then after the event, we actually put out a journal. That's the other thing the speakers have to do. They have to write papers on their presentations, and then we compile them into a journal, and then we distribute the journal afterwards. I was a bit delayed with the 2024 journal because you've probably seen on my Facebook, I've been traveling a lot for work. But we just got out the 2024 symposium journal. So it's all
I
the
actually
papers.
saw that
Yeah.
this morning. I think
Hmm.
I clicked on it. I was like, okay, so they do this after, and at first I thought this was something that you had done last year and was sharing it again to get people prepared for what's coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, like I said, I was very delayed in getting like the journal out, and plus it was a new venture for me to actually edit an academic journal. So it was a learning curve for me because an academic journal is, you have to they we include the abstracts and their sources, and plus there's just editing in general, and then the formatting and everything. So it
A
was
lot
very
different
much
from writing a book.
it's very similar to writing a book, and in this case, I did a presentation last year, so I had a paper, but overall I was doing like the editing and making sure all the formats were consistent, and everything. But yeah, so I mean the timing is serendipitous too, because now it's like, oh, if you weren't able to attend last year's symposium, you can read the papers, or if you did attend last year's symposium and you want to revisit the presentations and the lectures you attended, or catch up on the other areas of programming you may have missed, because all of these things are happening simultaneously, then you can read the papers and learn more. So it's very much a learning type of event. We expect people to not necessarily debate, but to rate people. We want audience members to raise their hand, to share their thoughts on what the presentations were about, and just have that dialogue. And because we don't do the vendor table, it gives people a chance to really just focus on the learning. And we omitted vendor tables for intentionally because we want our speakers to go to each other's presentations, and we want people to go to as many sessions as possible, so that they're not excuse me, so that they're not just attending a bunch of like, or they're just hanging out in a vendor hall all day. So that is something that is unique to our event.
Now, is last year the first time you've done this, or have you been doing this for a while?
So last year was the first. So this is going to be our second this year. The first one actually was pretty well received by attendees and speakers. I mean, I've been on the planning committee for several conventions over the past decade, so I kind of took everything that I had learned from event planning and convention planning and put it all into the symposium. Um, so
That's
every year I'm learning
very
something new
easy
about
to
that.
do.
Hmm?
That's very easy to do because I'm like you. I'm a part of a committee for another convention here in Indiana that I've been a part of for this will be our seventh year now.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. Um, what prompted this?
That's a good question. So I've been in the circuit, paranormal circuit, convention circuit for a while. And it's nothing against these events that are currently going on where there's like a vendor hall and a lecture room. It's awesome. But I wanted a bit more opportunities to learn, and either A, I was stuck behind a table, like usually my own table, um, or it was sessions where it was like a celebrity coming on, sitting in a backwards chair and talking about it behind the scenes of a TV show, which there's value in that, but I was also like, I kind of need something a little bit more. And because I have been traveling to London so much because of work, um, London is where the Society for Psychical Research is located. And SPR, they do 1 day events at their office where it's a day of lectures and presentations, and then they end the day with a panel. And the very first one I went to, I actually attended by accident because I was in London for about 2 weeks, so I was actually able to stay through the weekend. And I just emailed SPR and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. I know your business hours are Monday through Friday. I would love to stop by the library. I'm happy to give a donation. I would just really love to stop by." And they said, "Oh yeah, we're actually having an event that day, so come on over." So and I went, and they invited me to stay for the event they were having, and it was just really cool to be able to sit there and watch all of these presentations. And it was researchers from the University of Nottingham who were presenting on psi and children, like the relationship between like psi and children. I thought that was really cool. And they were taking breaks for tea and biscuits in between, and I'm like, this is amazing. I would love to attend something like this in the United States. And we did have the American Society for Psychical Research for a bit, but they haven't been active for years. um and it's like, and I know like other organizations like the Ryan and ASIP do online stuff, which is awesome, but I really, really loved that in-person experience. And I'm like, I think I would love to bring something like this to the States. And it started with a Facebook post. I was like, hey, what would happen if I rented a conference room for the day, ordered some pizza, and all these, and all these people that are doing research, why don't we just all come together in a room and just share each other's thoughts and research? And I got a response. I got an overwhelming response to it, which told me like this is something that the community has been wanting to. And then when we opened it up to abstract submissions, I thought we were only going to get enough for like a day, like a day's programming, but we ended up getting like 20, 30 submissions, and I'm like,
Oh wow.
we have something bigger here. And reading all of the abstracts, it just made me realize like how much the community overall is missing out when it comes to like insights and theories and methodologies. But these were written by people who, they haven't been on TV, they're not celebrities, they're researchers, but they're not getting enough to me, they're not getting enough exposure. So then I'm like, okay, what can I do to expand this without going broke? Because you've run events. I mean, renting facilities is very expensive. So luckily, Ghostly Images of Gettysburg contacted me and they said, we would love to support you in this however we can. So we chose Gettysburg as the location. And Ghost City Tours in Gettysburg also contacted me and said, we would love to donate our space. And Ghostly Images also donated the orphanage space. So I'm like, okay, so I got my conference room, my hotel conference room, but then I have two more rooms. So we made the decision in order to try to fit as many speakers as possible, we did 3 rooms running simultaneously.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There was an event a few years ago. I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago, a couple of towns over from me, just a small little town, Warsaw, Indiana. They had an event, and what they did to raise money was that they applied at the city for a
Oh.
grant, and surprisingly, they got the grant,
Oh, wow.
and that
Well,
was how they was able to do the event. And the star of the show was Grant Wilson. Um,
nice.
Uh, but,
Nice.
but yeah, they had a very. I didn't go. I had to work that day, so I
Mhm.
wasn't able to. I would have loved to have gone because the location that they had it in is the old Costa jail, uh,
Mhm. Oh, nice.
which is. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's pretty popular amongst us Hoosiers, and
Nice.
it's a nice place. I've investigated there myself once, seen some things, and so it was a nice location for them to be able to have an event like that. Um,
That's
so,
really
so
cool.
I find it kind of surprising that a city will actually give somebody a grant to have a paranormal event,
Yeah,
convention otherwise.
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's something to consider too. I was pleasantly surprised last year when we had people wanting to sponsor, like Lauren Hellickson sponsored, Gold Dust Publishing sponsored last year. I obviously sponsored. We didn't make any money last year, but any plans for any profits that were made, it was going to go back into my team, the Association of Paranormal Study. And this is Gouda, by the way, if he pokes his head in again.
I've
Um,
been seeing them in the corner.
yeah, he's just chilling out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the plan because my team is very much like a research-based organization. We don't really go out and investigate. It's like, hey, how can we support you in your study of the paranormal or parapsychology? So that includes like access to ancestry.com, newspapers.com, and like helping pay for like insurance, if you do go on an investigation, you want to get insurance in case like you have to cancel, that kind of thing. So it's like, how can we support researchers and whatnot. So that was the initial plan for any profits would go back to my team, but last year we didn't make a profit, which is fine. um it was actually
If you
totally
make
okay.
profit after the first event, then you're doing pretty freaking well.
We weren't in the red, or we weren't in the red too far in. I think I want to say it was like maybe $1,000 in the red. So, so between like merch sales and tickets and, after we had to pay the bills for everything, and there was areas that we definitely did not need to spend so much money. Like we did like we did a welcome dinner, which was an idea that I had gotten from Troy Taylor's Haunted America conference. He does like a Friday or a dinner with the speakers the night before, over to give them a chance to talk, and I love that. Last year we were like, oh, let's do it at a restaurant, and it was like buffet style, a little fancy. And looking at the bill and then looking at how stagnant it kind of was, I was like, we didn't need to do that. So this year we're doing a room and we're doing pizza and drinks. And it's like, hey, it's just everyone come hang out, So we definitely dialed it back tremendously of like, yeah, it's going to be pizza and drinks and just camaraderie all together, just like
Nobody
hanging out,
wants to
walking
know the
around.
pizza.
I realized too. I'm like, these are investigators, these are researchers. They're going to be happy with pizza and soda. So and they'll probably have more fun than sitting at a dinner table with like steak and potatoes and salad and you know. So we're like, let's just
Yeah,
dial it back.
yeah, absolutely. And you also got to think pizza is probably the number one go-to food for investigators when they are investigating.
Heck yeah! I mean, you got your fats, you got your carbs. You got your protein, you got all the macros
I
there.
don't care about none of that. I just enjoy the taste of it.
Right? Pizza's just delicious. Yep.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, so that's so like the whole spirit of this is like, hey, let's all come together, share our research, let's talk about it, let's have some arguments, good arguments, not like drama arguments, but it's like, you know, let's just come together as researchers and just, let's just chat and that's honestly what I love about the paranormal in this field is like we have so many brilliant people who are part of this community, and a lot of times they do get overshadowed because like I mentioned earlier, like they're not on TV or they don't have a big social media following. And right now that's what's driving a lot of these guest spots in events lately, and not a criticism to these events because you got to make some, I understand you got to make some money, and knowing how expensive it is to put on an event, it's like you want to bring in the people who are going to help drive ticket sales. But if anything, at least especially with this year, we sell 100 tickets and we only have like maybe 30 something tickets left. So 70 people have purchased tickets to the symposium this year, which is shocking. I was like, because last year we sold 50. So we got more people coming this year, and it's going to be quite interesting to see like what it all is going to turn out. I mean, I actually ended up having to, because I just purchased all the merch for this year, and I was like, oh, I actually have to account for like possibly 100 people showing up. So I also set up a merch pop-up shop too, because I was like, oh, just in case I don't bring enough. But I just ordered all the merch and trying to keep all that in mind. And we had a room block. The room block sold out. So I'm very surprised. So I'm very excited for this year. It's gonna be quite interesting.
Now, last year it was in Gettysburg, and this year is in Gettysburg again.
Yes, this year it is in Gettysburg. I'm going back and forth as to whether or not I'm going to keep it in Gettysburg for year three, because I could be having a cross country move come up. I'm actually
One
considering.
thing I was going to ask you if this is something you were going to consider moving to different parts of the country because not everybody can be able to travel to an event like this.
Exactly, exactly. Not everyone can travel. So next year, I'm actually considering possibly moving it to DC, Washington DC, because I live in DC. So event planning wise, it's going to be easier for me.
Mhm.
But also it is a more accessible place, in terms of like an airports and train stations and
Well, I was just there last year.
yeah, you were. We just missed each other too. We just missed each other by like a day or two too.
I know because I remember you asking me about possibly meeting up, and it turned out that they had our schedule so tight
Yeah.
we barely had enough time to use the bathroom in between everything.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, that's yeah.
It was a
Um,
very fast paced day. By the time we got home, I was exhausted, but holy cow, it was a hell of a day. One of the
yeah.
best days I've ever had, and it wasn't even geared for me.
Nice, nice. And the other consideration I've had too is maybe, yeah, keep it in Gettysburg like every year, but also maybe do more, like do another symposium, like almost like I don't want to say a branded event, but maybe we do like in a couple months we do a symposium in Texas or we do a symposium in North Carolina. Something like that where maybe something like that too. So that's something else that I've considered because, like you said, not everyone can travel to Gettysburg.
Right.
Gettysburg's also not the easiest place to get to if you are traveling from across the country because usually it's flying into DC and then you have to drive up, or you're flying into Baltimore and driving up. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I would love to go to Gettysburg, especially for the Gettysburg Bash that they have. But
Yeah.
I would never want to investigate with all them people because you cannot
No.
have a proper investigation with 1,000 people out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And that's another thing with our event too is we don't do investigations in the evening. I mean, if you're coming to Gettysburg and you know the dates of the symposium, we will give recommendations of like, hey, go to Ghostly Images, our sponsor. Go to Ghostly Images, here's how you can access these locations. So, we don't do any symposium sanctioned investigations because the other thing is everybody also has such different investigation styles, and yeah, and it's also a lot of people to manage. I feel like once you get beyond like 5 or 6 people, you start to you kind of start to, I don't want to say lose the integrity of the investigation, but then you really have to deal with environmental noise, and it's
But
also dealing
that's
with a lot of
exactly what
people.
it is.
Yeah.
You, when you get so many people there, you get all that contamination. That's exactly what's happening. The investigation itself is losing the integrity.
Yep. 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 And just for anyone watching that's like concern, when we say integrity, we're not meaning like, oh, these people aren't ethical. It's just more of like the environmental
Right.
noise. There's contamination. You got people talking, and you have cars driving by, and you have different investigation styles, and you have so it's just especially if you're depending on how you're approaching the investigation, it's like it could be compromised when you have two yeah, Nick's I see Nick's comment, way too much interference. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, because I've done a couple of public investigations, and one of them was one of those things where just anybody can come up off the street if they decide
Mhm.
at the very last minute. There was a little girl. She was going around with one of them REM pods,
Mhm.
um, and me and Scott Smith, one of the guys on my team, we were doing an EVP session in the top floor room. That was like a servants room,
Mhm.
and we were holding an EVP session, and then all of a sudden, this little girl just comes barging in with this REM pod, going holy hell.
Oh no.
And it was like that the whole time she was in there with us for maybe 5 minutes, and I had a migraine from that for the rest of the night.
Wow.
So after that, I will never do another public investigation because it's not worth it.
It's not. I mean, it's a great introduction for people who are new to it and kind of getting the vibe of what an investigation could be like.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I've gotten a bit burnt out on like the whole ghost hunting thing anyway. I don't know what's happened to me in the past couple years, but I've really become that person where if I go to a haunted location to investigate, I'm actually just kind of sitting my butt down for the evening in like one place and just kind of just taking in the environment. I'm not doing like the active like, oh, who's here with us tonight? I'm not really doing that anymore. I'm just kind of sitting back and just letting the space talk to me. But yeah, but with like I don't know, I think I've just gotten a little burnt out on like the ghost hunting culture a bit.
Yep.
Um yeah.
That's how it's been for me too. I have done, I think, 8 investigations in the last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Um, but other circumstances behind that we won't get into. But what I have been doing lately for the places that I have been going that I have been to before is I still take my bag of equipment with me, but
Yeah.
I went to I actually went with Nick to a jail a couple weeks ago. I barely even opened my bag. I went around the building. I didn't take any equipment with me. It was more of an exploration for me.
Oh,
I
nice.
know this jail. I know it so well. I know what's where, who's what, all of that.
Mhm.
But in the same token, I probably spent more time outside talking to the lady that runs the building because I enjoy her stories. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it was so hot in that building. Um,
Yeah. I bet.
yeah. Um,
I bet.
so I completely lost my train of thought here. The next question I was going to ask you. The applications you got. So you said last year you got what, about 25, 30 applicants?
Yep. Yep.
So the way that you are going about this, the way that you described it, it almost sounds um, like how high school students would apply for a college to get into.
It's almost similar to that. Yeah. So it's very much a style of for like any type of academic conference. Actually, SPR is doing their annual submissions for their conference as well, and it's a very similar structure. It's, you're submitting an abstract. Yeah, so it's just like a one-page overview of what your presentation's about, whether or not it usually, if you can't summarize what your presentation is in like a page and like a couple sentences, and it's like you need to definitely reevaluate, your approach to it. And I'm actually considering applying for SPR's conference as well. It's like I'm like, can I get to the UK? Yes, probably. Um, you know,
You could
so
say that you travel to England for work.
I do. I'm like, and I have a lot of flyer miles with British Airways and Delta. So,
Yeah,
um,
so who's to say you can't use your frequent flyer miles to get over there for a week and host an event there? Because I I'm friends with a good number of people in the around Europe,
mhm.
that I think would be great at doing this kind of event.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And over there, they're used to it a bit more because it's more present there. Because yeah, they have the Ghost Club, they have SPR, they
Mhm.
have ASIP. So they actually are already many of them are actually hopefully already familiar with the structure. And I mean, I'm just going to be very honest. I'm not going to say that I'm the originator of the symposium or the format. I mean, that's 100% was I pulled that from the UK. I got that from SPR. So I will always like give credit for that.
Well, all things considered, there's rarely ever anything anymore that's an original idea.
Yeah, exactly. There was there have been some people who have said like some like especially as symposiums have started. I've noticed symposiums have started to pick up here in North America, which is amazing. I'm like, that's awesome. But I remembered like there was somebody, I forgot who it was like, oh, the a learning based symposium is like my idea, and I was like, no, actually, this is like a known thing. Like the symposiums have been happening for years. Um, and but also I'm also like, why do you want to gatekeep something like that? Why do you want to lay claim to it when one, we know that this is something the field needs. Like the field has spoken, they want more learning based events or academic
We
based events.
did.
Like if people want to do their own, please go do them. Like do your own symposium. Like call it something different, call it a symposium. Please go out and do symposiums. So when I see symposiums popping up now, like in the past like year or two, I'm so excited for that. I'm like, yes, like it's gonna send the field in the right direction. So I'm always really excited when I see other symposiums pop up.
We were actually considering my team. We were actually considering something similar to that.
Hmm.
Only we were going to call it like a retreat.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It was going to be in New Mexico. One person had actually found a location, but um, in the end, it didn't quite work out what we were hoping to do. So now we just kind of put it on the back burner and going to eventually revisit the idea.
Yeah.
Um, but your name had actually came up when
Oh,
we were discussing that as one of the lecturers.
oh yeah. Oh,
But
nice.
before we got to where we were going to be contacting people for it, we decided that what we were planning for the time was a bit too much.
Yeah. Oh,
And actually, I want to say Nick was. involved in that discussion. I don't remember.
Mhm.
I think we were talking about Nick as another lecturer. I can't remember. It was like 2 years ago when we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Um, but I love the idea. We need something like that. I actually had somebody tell me that I should be one of the lecturers, but when it comes to that, I am the worst person to do that. I do okay here,
Mhm.
but when it comes to getting in front of a crowd of people, I am not the I am not a public speaker.
Mhm.
Even though I do have a good deal of knowledge of certain things, like the whole thing with the dog whistle that I do. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole concept of what I've been doing with the dog whistle, but I am
Mhm.
very interested in the ghost noise frequency.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I
But
love that.
in get into trying to talk to people about that, I am not the kind of speaker that would be able to project that in a confident and intelligent way.
Mhm.
I have to have my own way of being able to tell people about it. It's just not going to come across like an academic teacher.
Right.
So
You're very well spoken. You're very well articulated. So you give yourself a little more credit.
one on one, I am.
Mhm.
One on 30, not happening. There,
You never
there, is, a, there
know.
is a difference.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the people that you have going
Oh
this year.
yeah.
Like I know that one of my dear friends is a part of the symposium this year, John Griffin second.
Yeah, yeah. John submitted a really good abstract.
Oh,
Like,
he will. John's been one of my best friends for the past 6 years.
oh wow.
We've worked together. In fact, he was one of the first ones to do experiments for me with the dog whistle,
Oh
because I knew
nice.
what his team does. They do data collecting and all that stuff, and the way that he presents everything is completely different from the rest of the
Mhm.
field. And
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody else do what he does.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I saw that he's going to be a part of this symposium, which that is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to his presentation. It's gonna be pretty amazing. Like,
you're going to love it.
yeah. Oh, I'm excited for it. Yeah, we got good lineup this year. I mean, last year we had a good lineup too, but this year, like there were people that I admire in the field that applied and wanted to be a part of this, and I was like, oh, my little old me at my little old event. Cool. Yeah, like Dave Schumacher, Lauren Hellickson, Brandon Masulo, John Sable, Ron Yakvetti is coming back this year. He presented last year. Pat Bussard O'Keefe. We actually had a couple academics apply as well, like true like academics studying this in a university setting. Like they applied to the symposium, and I was like, wow, okay.
That is very much needed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we have a really we gosh, I'm trying to think of like who I'm trying to remember the list off the top of my head, but uh uh
Going through your profile here, and I'm seeing a bunch. Most of these people I've never heard of. Um,
which is awesome. You know, it's new faces, new voices.
yeah, so I see Glennie Sewell,
Yep.
Michael John Angus. Uh, let's see here, Carla. No, Kara.
Kara Cilento, yes.
Yeah, Gail Gamble. Oh yeah, Lauren Heckelson. She was actually presenting at Peer Unity last year. Peer Unity is the one that I'm a part of the committee on. So she was a presenter last year for that.
Nice.
And you got Sam Batrusis.
Sam Baltrusis, yes. Sam Baltrusis is coming too.
Yeah, so he's one of the bigger names in the paranormal field from
Yes.
my perspective.
And believe it or not, Sam volunteered last year to help, just to help out with the event,
Nice.
which was really like, I was so honored for that, because you're like you said, he's a bigger name in the field, and I was like, wait, you want to come like volunteer and help out, like just to chill? And really, okay, cool. I was like, okay, let's come on over. And yeah, so when he decided to apply this year, I was really excited. And and his once, and like I mean, I said this with everyone who got accepted. Their abstracts were great. Lauren Hellickson, I will brag about this one. She got a perfect score on her abstract. Perfect score. Like,
Okay, so I got to ask you, how do you grade these abstracts?
yeah, that's a great question. I'll actually pull up the rubric on my phone, because that's like, so pretty much there's, I want to say, 5 6 different areas that we're looking at. Um Let's see. So, and we made the rubric available to everyone to see, so that everybody had the same advantage and the same access to the information. So we're looking at the title. Is the title like, does it describe the ideas presented? Does it pique people's interest? We also look at the description of the presentation or the workshop. Do we understand what it's about? Um, and then the mechanics, like, is the abstract clear, is it succinct, length, is it 250 to 300 words? We did get some people who did submit abstracts that were only like 100 words, and we're like, yeah. But I usually replied to those abstracts, and I said, hey, this is the parameters we're looking for. So I always gave people another chance. And I even offered, like, because we have a committee, I even offered to people, I'm like, if you want me to look at your abstract, I'm more than happy to do that, because I want to give everyone the same opportunities and the same advantages. So I did actually review a lot of abstracts before they were submitted to the committee. And I do that under the pretense of, this doesn't guarantee you're going to get in. Again, there's a committee, so it's not my decision. It's like a group of 5 people who are, or 5 or 6 people who are looking at this. We also look at the references. Did you include references? Because with an academic based group, an event, yes, while this is all like, not, it's pseudo, I mean, I don't like to call it a pseudoscience, but it's not like we can go look at a scientific study of what makes up a ghost, you know what I mean? But it's like, but have other people done research on the topic that you're working on, and are they credible? And it's not like tinfoil hat society. But also the level of material, is it appropriate for the audience? Is the topic timely? We've had like, for an example, if someone were to submit an abstract of like, why Ghost Adventures is the best TV show out there, we might be like, hey, now granted, if the abstract was solid, and that was like, okay, they make a good case, then yeah, maybe we would let them in, because I'm like, I would actually watch that presentation, because I'd be intrigued. But or
If they were going off of like the first 2 or 3 seasons of Ghost Adventures, I
yes.
might buy into that, but beyond that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Or if it was something like, and nobody submitted an abstract on this, so I'll just say this one, but it's like, how to use an EMF meter. And that's not really quite what the event is about. It's now, if it's like, how using an EMF meter can enhance your investigations, or how I use an EMF meter to debunk a haunting, then it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at that. So, because there was a couple of abstracts where it's like, they kind of started with a very basic idea that wasn't necessarily, like, at least with the group, like, intriguing or new, but it's like, hey, tell me a little bit more what you did with that piece of equipment, or tell me more about, like, what you're thinking about with that, with your idea. And there was a couple of abstracts that I did help shape. It's like, hey, actually, you should go with this angle of, like, this is how you can think outside the box with, like, your research and your presentation. So it's very much like, not a behind the scenes of this TV show, or you know, like, Lauren Hellickson's presentation is all about the KSC method. So it's like a new method that she came up with investigating, or and in her research, and when she how she's building tech and whatnot. It's like, that's a great presentation topic right there. John's is all about Project Apparition. So it's like that's an intriguing topic. And then we have another presentation on
I have
religious
a very
experiences and
small part
paranormal
in that.
experiences. Hmm?
I actually have a very small part in that apparition hall.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It,
Yeah.
it's not going to be one that you would expect, but once you see it or hear it, then you'll know exactly why I was a part of that.
Nice. Well, I look forward to seeing that. Um, but yeah, so that's really how we're looking at with like that's how we would grade an abstract. It's like, is it an interesting concept, an idea? Is it actionable? Can people learn something from it? That's the big thing. It's like what because part of the abstract is what you want people to take away from your presentation. So yeah,
So, out of all the ones that were submitted this year, how many actually got accepted? Well, give me a percentage of how many got accepted.
I want to say about 70% got in. Um,
That's not bad.
it's not bad. And well, and it's because we had those three rooms. We have those three spaces. This year we're at the 1863 Inn and we're at the orphanage. Um, because they're right
All
across the
running
street
at the
from each other.
same time.
And they're all happening at the same time. Yeah. So some people are like, well, that's a bummer because there's other presentations I want to see that are happening at the same time. But that's
Right. Yeah.
but that's exactly why we're doing the journal so that you can at least you can read the presentations, and we are giving the presenters permission to record their own presentation if they wanted to, like, record it
It
while they go.
was going to be my next question if you guys would be able to record this and then edit it in a way to where you can release it on DVD.
Yeah, that's something that we're exploring for possibly this year. I have to talk to my team of like, what does that bandwidth look like, and would we bring our laptops and just point our webcam, to the presentation, or do we let the presenters record their own and then they send it to us and then we can compile them in like a YouTube channel. So there's different ways that we're trying to like how can we make this more accessible.
Yeah, because like you said, it'd be a bummer to have to make a choice. Okay, here are the two that I really want to see. Oh no, they're at the same time. So yeah, I can definitely see where you would probably want to do something like that. Um, and this is all happening in one day, right? It's not a 2 day event.
It's a one-day event, so people are gonna be very tired at the end of Saturday.
So from what time to what time is this event?
So we are starting, I wanna say we're starting at 8:30 in the morning because we do, like, an opening session, like, an opening ceremony for about 15 minutes just to say, like, "Hey, welcome, this is what the day's gonna look like. Here is a map of where everything is." And then we break and we get the day started. Now, we do have about 20-minute breaks in between each session, so people have plenty of time to walk across the street or walk to the next room, get something to eat. We also do a lunch break. So that people can go get food, and then we end the day at 5 o'clock. So it's an 8-hour day.
Okay, so basically a full work day. And how long are your presenters given? Are they doing hour things? Well, 40-minute things, like hour and a half. How
That's a
long?
great question. I want to say because I've gone through, the reason why I don't have the answer off the top of my head is because I was going through like different scenarios of like, okay, which hypothetical schedule can we do? Actually, I have it up right now. We are doing so each session is 55 minutes.
50.
So 55 minutes with 20-minute transition times.
Hmm, okay.
So plenty of time. So it's ideally it's plenty of time to do a presentation, take questions, and then if people want to chat with you after, they can do so.
Okay, and each presenter gets one time block.
Yep, yep.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, yeah. I would love to. I would love to go to one of these events because I love learning about this stuff. Um, but unfortunately, the day before, I have something going on that the night before,
Hmm.
and let's see, Gettysburg. I'm trying to think of it where it's at. It's closer to the eastern border state line, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, it's just right when you cross into Maryland. It's like, or from Maryland into Pennsylvania. I want to say it's like a 30-minute drive after you cross the Pennsylvania border.
Okay, so I'm looking at a minimum 8 hour drive to get there.
That's a long drive.
Yeah. Oh, long drives don't mean anything to me. I drive cross country, so I'm used to doing 12, 14, 16 hour days.
Oh yeah. Oof. Woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
I've been doing it for 20 years. I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did a long weekend of driving last weekend cuz I play roller derby. So I had a roller derby game up in New York and then I had to go
I'm,
down
I
I had
was
to
going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
How did you get into roller derby?
Oh my goodness. So, I started playing roller derby back in 2008, 2009, with a league in San Diego called the San Diego Derby Dolls. And I absolutely, well, what happened was I had a friend invite me to a game, and she's like, "I think you would really like the production and the showmanship of the game." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And I went to a game, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is the coolest thing ever." So I started doing boot camp with the San Diego Derby Dolls. I started skating with them, playing with them, and then moved to North Carolina and I took like a 10-year break from it. I missed it. I missed it tremendously. So after we moved to DC, my husband and I was like, I'm still young. I nothing hurts too bad yet when I bend my knees.
Well, I was going to ask you if you've broken any bones yet.
Not yet, not yet. Although I did get a pretty thick bruise on my leg from last week's game. But I was like, I would really like to start doing this again. And so I found a league in Northern Virginia, Nova Roller Derby. And yeah, I've been skating with them for about 2 years now. 2 years now.
Wow. That's amazing. I would not have, with somebody with your background, I would not have expected that to be one of the things that you do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I was looking for something that had a lot of exercise, but something that was also fun to do. Although I say that now, but then I started powerlifting this year. So and I found out I love powerlifting. So it was one of those like, okay, I guess I am a gym person. um, so
You
yeah.
don't know until you start doing it.
Well, exactly. And actually what's funny is I started going to the gym because of roller derby cuz I'm like, I'm in my late 30s and a lot of my teammates are in their 20s and early 30s and I was like, I should probably start doing some other exercise just to keep my I didn't want to play to get fit. I wanted to get fit to play. And I'm like, I should probably start like working out a little bit more and strengthening my legs and my back and just so that things are, I'm taking care of myself and back in September, my trainer started having me like deadlifting, and I realized like I really liked deadlifting. And then in January, he started adding benching and squatting, which is all the powerlifting events. And I was like, I really like lifting and pushing heavy things. Like, I really like it. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. It wasn't on my bingo card of life. I never thought I would be like that person. And and about a month and a half ago, he was like, "Hey, have you ever considered competing?" And I'm like, "I won't know until I try it."
Well, with doing the deadlifting and all of that stuff, and I would imagine that roller derby does too, but that is a lot of wear and tear on your calves and your quads.
It is. It actually is. Well, and the funny thing is I used to be a figure skater. Like when I was a kid, I figure skated like competitively, like went to Lake Placid to train. Like I was like Olympic dreams, that type of thing. And I did that until I was about 14. And then I also was a dancer. I was a cheerleader, like competitive cheerleading. So I was doing like, stunts and everything. So I've always had really strong legs. So it just seemed to fit really well. And that's actually why I'm able to deadlift and squat as well as I can. because even my friends who are because I dated a power lifter very briefly, um and I have a couple friends who power lift, and I showed them my videos, and they're like, "You have really good form. Like you're kind of a natural at this." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, um,
There you
yeah,
go.
there you go, there you go.
They would know.
Well, yeah, and I even told like my ex, I was like, "Hey," because we, he and I we're still friends. We parted very amicably, and so we still talk. And I would send him videos, and I'm like, "Be honest with me, please don't BS me. What do you think?" And he was like, "You're really good at this." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "I'm not lifting that heavy," but he's like, "But your form, people would kill to have your form." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
That's one thing that I've heard more than anything else. No matter what it is, that the form is the most important thing. It's not how fast you're doing it or how heavy
yeah,
the stuff that you're lifting. It's the form that's the
yep.
most important thing. Because if you lose the form, then you're not really doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's something because the big thing now that my trainer and I are going down this road to competing is really making sure that my form is there. And one of the things that he likes to do, I hate it, but it's good for me, is he will have me like with deadlifting, he had me do 5 sets of 20 deadlifts at a lighter weight, but to really fix my form and get the form like drilled into my head. By the time I was hitting 80 reps, I was like, I hate this.
Uh,
I hate this. But it really cleaned up my form. So
now,
and it built the endurance.
when you say lighter weight, how much are you talking about?
Uh 135, 135 pounds.
It's a that's a good amount.
I'm right now my PR, my personal record deadlifting wise is about 225.
Shit.
I know. I joke with, and I can rack pull about 275. And I now joke with my husband that I can now lift him into the trunk if I ever needed to.
Now, speaking of your husband, how is he doing?
He's doing much better. He's doing much better. For people who don't know, he had fairly massive surgery on July 1st. Um, he's doing much better now. Thank you for asking. He's actually going to be going back to work in about a week or two, so we'll see how that goes.
And that first day is going to be the hardest.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think he might be ready to go back to work though, because he's been home all day. I mean, and I took a week off for his surgery, but I went back to work, and I only live 5 minutes away from my office, so I could
Oh,
do half days. Oh yeah, no, I did that on purpose because people probably heard by now a couple times. I live in the DC area.
mhm.
What is DC best known for? Besides, politics is traffic. And I was like, and toll roads. And I'm like, I really don't want to do like a 30, 45 minute commute every day. So, and plus with the money I would save between gas and toll roads, because tolls can be very expensive depending what time of day that you're traveling. I was like, it evens out rent wise because it is a more expensive place to live in, but I'm like, it evens out.
Well, when I was there last year, I didn't have to drive through it. We took one of those tour buses.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
And holy cow! I thought our driver was going to be running into people or people running into him. He was cutting people off left and right, but he kind of had to.
Yeah,
Uh,
you have to.
yeah, because there were four tour buses,
Okay.
and everybody honking horns. Yeah, that I was so glad to not have to be the one behind the wheel.
Yeah. DC driving is a whole other like level of driving. Usually my husband grew up in like, the south of the country. Hasn't I mean he's much better now at city driving, but even today, like if we were to go into DC like and we drove and not took the metro, he'd be like, "You're driving." And there have been times I've driven in DC and like our exit is like we just got on the road and the exit's like on the other side, but there's like traffic going in everywhere. I'm like, honey, you need to close your eyes because I'm about to do things that are very scary to get to that lane. I'm just like, close your eyes, baby.
So Washington D.C. was basically a rude awakening for him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
Wow.
mean, he can't he does drive into DC by himself now when he knows where he's going, but if we're going anywhere like depending on the neighborhood, it's like, yeah, no, I'm going to drive. It's cuz I mean, I grew up in San Diego. I grew up in a city,
Oh,
Southern California driving. I lived in
so
LA
you're
very
more than
briefly.
familiar with it.
Oh yeah, city yeah, so city driving I'm very familiar with, and actually a lot of my old LA driving habits came back in DC. I was like, "Oh, I yeah, we're good."
And we're not going to say that's a good thing now.
I know it's not good, drive safe, but DC is a whole other level of driving cuz yeah.
The absolute worst place that I have driven through is New York City on Long Island.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Manhattan Island. The
Oh,
absolute worst place I've ever driven. I actually seen the guy in front of me get cut off by two people at the same time from either side and almost crash in each.
oh my gosh. Woof.
Yeah, uh,
Woo.
New York City is the worst place I have ever been to, and I've driven everywhere: Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas.
Mhm.
New York City takes the cake.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. I don't like driving in New York City. Now, sometimes if I'm going to certain events like in Connecticut or Massachusetts and I choose to drive and I have to go by New York City, whew, it's if I can go out and around, I'll take that extra 45 minutes if it just means that I don't have to drive across the bridge. I hate driving across the bridge because it moves and I'm like, the Hudson River's right under me.
Oh, I've never
If
felt
anything
that before.
if anything happened, I'm done. I'm cooked. I'm done.
Um, Before we wrap up, I do want to touch up on your books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you? I know that you have just released. I think it was a year ago, the Women in the Paranormal, and
Yeah.
you had talked about doing a volume two.
Yes, volume 2. That book has become my problem child. Um I had a goal of getting it out by the fall, like next month, but I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, so Women of the Paranormal, volume 1 came out about last year, year and a half ago. And really that book just came from wanting to spotlight women in the field and part of the I guess requirements to be in the book is that woman has had to have passed away, mostly because it's like their story has already been told, um so I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I've been working on volume 2 for quite a long time, like almost a year, like about a year now. But I have to give myself some grace cuz volume 1 took about 4 years to write. So I'm
Oh,
like the fact that I'm trying to push out volume 2 in a year in less than 3 years, I'm like I need to ease up on the pressure on myself. Um but yeah, so volume 2 is going to feature it's gonna be featuring a lot more witches this time around, like, witches in history, which
mhm.
wasn't intentional at first, but I kinda let the book speak for itself as I'm writing it, but I have a lot of parapsychologists too, so it's like this weird, like, balance between, like, science and witchcraft, which I'm like, I'm actually okay with that. I'm okay with that. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to get that out at least by the end of the year. If not, it will definitely be early 2026, maybe for Women's History Month 2026. I'm actually possibly thinking about that
That
instead.
would actually be a more appropriate time for that to come out.
Yeah, and also it gives me another August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It gives me another 7 months to clean up the book. so, um, so I think that would be a really good time to probably put out volume 2.
So for volume two, now I don't know the when or if they even still admit women into the Ghost Club over in England.
They do. I'm actually a member of the Ghost Club.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Um, so I know with the Ghost Club being the oldest um, organization in the world, are you featuring anybody from that club in the book?
I've been actually been trying to find female members who have passed who were members of the Ghost Club because I have SPR pretty well covered. I covered Eleanor Sidgwick in Volume One, and she was one of the co-founders of SPR. ASIP, I think I might have a few members of ASIP involved too, but yeah, and that's actually part of the reason why Women of the Paranormal took Volume One took so long to write, is because it's just doing all the research and finding these women. And sometimes it requires looking through some really extensive historical records of like and Ghost Club, ASIP, SPR, and other organizations were really wonderful with their data keeping, their data logging. But it requires reading all of the journals and reading all of the case studies. And I'm like, I need to find a woman. I need to find a woman. I need a female name. It's like, I'm reading, and I'm like, okay. Um,
Well, that's another thing that's kind of tricky because a female may not necessarily have a female name.
No, and the other thing that, yeah, and and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times it may not be a female name, but sometimes I might get a Mrs. Frank Podmore. I might get that, and I'm like, okay,
Well,
Mrs.
I
Let's.
meant like somebody who goes by the name of Sam or even Alex.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, and that makes it tricky too. So, and sometimes it requires me to do some more work of like, okay, well, let's see where this brings me. So yeah, like Sam, Alex is another one. There's a lot of women even back in the Victorian times, especially, who may have gone by gender neutral names. So yeah.
Adrian Clayton here said she's one of the folks on my. She's actually one of my Thursday night Supernatural Talk hosts.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
She
Adrian's awesome.
also runs the Colorado chapter of things. She wants to see a connection between the science and the witchcraft. So Adrian, when her second Women of the Paranormal book comes out, I think that's going to be the one that you're going to want to see, get, and read.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of people excited for volume two, so I'm like, all right, I gotta do it, because I already have a book cover. I have a book cover, like it's all there, like everything's there. I just gotta finish writing it and edit and get it to my editor too. So
Yeah,
good
well,
times.
at least you got an editor. I'm still trying to find an agent. That's the hardest thing in the world.
That's partially why I self-publish these days, because the mechanics behind like the publishing industry, because I've been traditionally published a couple times. The mechanics and the politics of traditional publishing is just very yeah. It's exhausting.
It is a okay. I'm going to circle back to the symposium, and then we'll wrap up. So for symposium number 3, assuming that it is going to be in Gettysburg next year,
Mhm.
when do you anticipate on opening up applications for next year?
More than likely, we're looking at November.
Okay.
We want to. I would like to open it up in November before Thanksgiving, and submissions would be due around March. So it gives people about 4 months to write something, and yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't take 4 months to write 300 words.
It shouldn't, but some people do like want to do research, and that takes time too, which I can appreciate. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. We did get a couple of people, and I'll throw shade at this, but people who have been on TV a couple times who wanted to bypass the abstract process, and I'm like, no, you got to do an abstract. And so I may or may not have turned off some more famous names because of that. Um, Not intentionally. It's like, if you want to be a part of it, I'd love to have you be a part of it, but you got to go through the process like everyone else. So,
My thing about the people who have been on TV, it's not that I begrudge them for being on TV, because I always say it is that it's not that you were good enough investigator to be on TV. It's that you were good enough to get on TV. That doesn't mean that you're a good investigator.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that too because really because I've been on TV a couple times and I've been featured on shows. It's really what it is. It's not necessarily yeah, you're right. That's that you're a good investigator. It's you know how to tell a story.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and I don't insinuate that anyone's lying or anything like that because I have a really compelling story with my personal experience that have gotten me some opportunities. But yeah, it's like you know how to tell a story and you know how to sell yourself. And for me, it's like I used to be in theater,
Oh,
so I can do that.
did I actually seen one of the shows that you were on?
Hmm.
But it wasn't you investigating; it was you telling your story.
Hmm.
It those shows that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that like those that get guest spots on Ghost Tunnels or Ghost Adventures.
Yes.
Get
Yeah.
on those. If that
Yeah.
you're entertaining enough to get on that show
Exactly.
doesn't
They're
mean
enter-
you're a good investigator.
or they have a direct tie to the location that they're going to, and they're the point of
Right.
contact. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually over at Adrian's house, and she had one of the paranormal shows on. I don't remember which one it was, but you were on it.
Oh,
Uh,
snap.
I don't remember what the show was or what the story was. I just remember you were on it,
Hmm.
and I think it was Adrian who saw you first and he said, "Hey, Alex is on." And, what? So we get on there, and okay. So I sat down with her and her husband, and we were watching you telling your story. So we thought it was pretty cool that you were on there. But no, my criticism is for those that are investigating on
Hmm. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Agreed. 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 Or they look a certain way, and that's ooh, that's I'm not going to get on the soapbox, since we're past
oh,
the hour, but el- it's the entertain at the end of the day, it's the entertainment business, and again, theater. I did film and TV too. Um, there's a marketability with appearances that's still prevalent in the industry, and I find that the paranormal entertainment industry is about 5 to 10 years behind the rest of the industry. But it's like if you look at all like the feet like a lot of times the women on these shows, they all look exactly the same. There's not a lot of diversity, but they have like the marketable look. So yeah, no, I'll get on a whole soapbox about like casting, and
yeah,
you'll be surprised how many investigators on these TV shows are actors. Like they're like they've done theater or they've done other TV gigs, and they're actors. And with acting, or not instead of saying they're actors, they have acting backgrounds. That's something I've noticed,
okay.
and I'm like, that's interesting.
I, there's a few people that I do know that have been on shows like you. Adrian was on one, although she's completely embarrassed. She'll be the first one to tell you that. David Childers, I know him. He's been on a number of TV shows.
Hmm.
So there's a few out there that I know.
Yeah.
Um, After the show, I want to have a conversation about the idea that I've got that
Okay.
will be presented at the symposium, but I am not going to apply to do anything like because I am not that kind of person.
Hmm.
Uh, otherwise, Alex, thank you so much for being on the show. It has
Yeah.
been a pleasure having you on here and learning about this symposium of yours.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on and letting me talk about things spooky stuff that I love. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, you definitely have plenty of stories, so I will try to get you on next season, so that we can dive into some of those.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I love that.
All right, everybody out there in the audience, thank you so much for playing along with us. It's been a fun show. Next week on the 13th Dimension, tentatively, Carl Albertson. He is Things of Missouri, also runs Bill of Rights Network, so he does the Paranormal Nation radio show on Tuesdays. We're planning on having him on this show next week. He's actually going to be talking about his wood lasering business, which is really cool. He has shown me a lot of his stuff.
Nice.
Um, so the plan is he's going to be on next week. He was going to be on last week, and then something happened. He had an event because he's got a food truck, a food school bus, I should say.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's showing me pictures. It is really, really cool. He completely changed it. Um, so the plan is he'll be on next week, and then of course Supernatural Talk, where we'll be talking about all current things, um, and then diving off the deep end like we usually do. Meanwhile, again, Alex, thank you so much for being on the show, and we will see you all guys next week. Have a good night and have a good and safe weekend.